Hello and welcome to Movie Beaters with the Farx brothers. My brother and I are sharing a mic today. This is Kirk.
This is Kyle.
And we're going to be debating A Complete Unknown with Mick Lynch and Nick Palodichuk.
And Joe. What's your last name, Joe?
Ruzsa.
Ruzsa.
Yeah.
Nice.
See how hard this is? I gotta...
We didn't have to
Everywhere,
pan
yeah.
it towards her.
I know. I'm a sound guy. It's in my nature to get people's voices, you know what I
If
mean?
somebody's making sound.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a question that's going to kind of tick off, I think, everyone who has joined us as a guest today. Dear brother, which movie did you prefer in the past week? Den of Thieves, Pantera, or A Complete Unknown?
I liked Den of Thieves, Pantera, a lot more than A Complete Unknown.
So let's just...
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow. As somebody has seen both of them.
You've
Wow.
seen both of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nick, let's start with you. Are you a big Bob Dylan fan?
Right. I got 3 of his albums. Blood on the Tracks, Blonde on Blonde, and then
Freewheeling?
I think so.
Is that the one where he's walking down the street?
Yes, that's the one. Right. But I don't have them. I have that one actually on CD. So, I mean, I have 3 of his stuff, so I would consider myself a fan. I think a lot of other musicians out there would consider themselves fans as well.
I'm not a musician. Does that make a difference, you think?
Well, just kind of like a lot of times you interview rock stars and you say who's the inspiration, and a lot of them will say Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Mick, where are you at with Bob Dylan? I think you were telling me in between episodes.
Yeah, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan.
Were you doing a Bob Dylan impression there?
I'm a huge. I've always found that. No,
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Thanks,
I like that.
Kirk.
Wow.
No, I really love. Yeah, Bob Dylan is like. I'm not a rock star, but like you just said, Bob Dylan is like one of my biggest heroes musically and artistically. You know, all of his film scores that he's. No, I love Bob Dylan as an artist and just as a kind of cultural figure.
He has done one film score. I was doing in the half-assed research. I looked this up. Joe, where are you at with Bob Dylan?
I'm not a hater. I know nothing about Bob Dylan.
You're just learning.
Yeah, I'm at the start of my journey with Bob Dylan, I guess.
Good.
This
Yeah.
I prefer Yusuf Islam to.
That's what Cat Stevens. I mean, Bob Dylan did do that. He went born again Christian.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
he
right.
kind of
Kanye did it too.
do the Cat Stevens thing. Yeah.
Okay, so just so that people understand, brother, where are you at with Bob Dylan? You gave that sick Pantera reference.
Hey, look, I wasn't the only one who liked it. You liked it more than A Complete Unknown, too. Or I'm not alone in this.
I'm sorry, because I thought we were gonna see Den of Thieves 2 and then watch Complete Unknown last night before, but that's just not how the movies worked out this time. So, biopic or biopic?
Biopic.
I would think biopic.
Ooh, starting hot.
No, well, biopic means a movie, not a biography, but a bio, just like a slice.
No. Sorry, that was me.
Yes, yes, got him.
No, but biopic doesn't mean anything. Biopic is a
slice.
is a
right?
combination of
Biography and
biographical
picture?
picture.
Okay.
No, I think it's
Biological picture.
No, did I say biology?
I don't know what you said.
It doesn't matter. This is not like this is recorded and we'll be listening to it again.
Right.
See, I was gonna go with biopic too, just because I think that's the common parlance. It's one of those things that makes logic is sensical. But I've always said biopic. It sounds like you have too, Nick.
That's called like an A&E biography. I think this is very loose interpretation of it's almost like historical fiction. Wouldn't you say?
That is true. But he means literally, do you call it a biopic or a biopic?
Yes. Just the pronunciation of the word biopic or
We're
biopic.
We're starting things off hot today. We're getting deep in this movie.
Pay attention, right?
Are you a biopic or are you still a biopic or are you biopic now?
Biopic now.
Okay. I guess I've heard a lot of people say biopic.
No.
And this was an argument I had on a recent.
I'm a data, not a
No,
data.
I've heard
I'm data.
both.
I'm not data, not a data.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think me too.
Your data?
Data.
Not a data?
Well, this is data for everyone to, consume. Okay,
You
so
just said it wrong.
see, it's a debate show. You're supposed to disagree. It's a Midwestern disagreement show because people, don't talk about movies and they don't disagree much in the Midwest. What are the cliches that, without spoiling, we're in the non-spoiler section. Did you think this movie hit any cliches?
I'm trying to think of anything. Do you have any cliches?
Downward trajectory where the
Yeah, that ready.
Yeah, that was immediate.
And I respect it.
the
Go
ray.
on.
We're ready, really.
I thought of it from Walk Hard because I watched that again today to get ready for this.
Oh,
Where you
yeah.
have the hard fall as a character and kind of lose your way and then come back. Me personally, what I didn't care for in this movie is that it valorized some of what I saw as not working well with your colleagues and peers. That's what made me not like it in a lot of ways, even though I thought it was well made. I'm a big Jim Mangold fan because of, going back to Copland.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see where you're coming
You're
from.
supposed to disagree with
Oh,
me. But
sorry. Actually, you know what? I do kind of disagree with you. All right.
Go ahead.
I think that I didn't think it was really valorizing or glorifying. I think that the only decision that he made. Oh wait, this is non-spoilers.
Non-spoiler, so save it. We'll get back to. This is going to be a big topic of conversation, I believe.
Okay.
segments.
I disagree with you. I don't think that they I think that there was only one major decision that he made that was really made to seem like it was really the right thing to do. And I also agree that it was the right thing to do.
Do you think James Mangold is better at westerns or music movies? Have you? I know Nick's seen Walk the Line, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time you watched Walk the Line?
Oh, God. It's got to be like maybe a decade ago.
I think it's a decade and a half for me at least. Have you?
Yeah.
Have I don't
Walk
wanna
the
say-
Line was the Johnny Cash one, right?
Yeah,
The
with
I've
Johnny
watched
satire of the
it,
Johnny
but-
Cash movie.
a satire of it.
No. You're thinking of Walk Hard.
Walk Hard. Okay.
Yes,
So-
there's-
Walk the Line is the actual Johnny Cash one.
Yes.
Thank
I've
you.
seen it. I have no memory of it.
Which one?
Walk the line.
Oh.
Yeah. So
But I know I
using
have
that
seen
as a
it.
template, Walk the
Yeah.
Line.
Because James Mangold wrote and directed Walk the Line about Johnny Cash, and now he's
Yeah.
gone back to the well in a sense, almost 20 years later. By instead of doing Johnny Cash, he's done Bob Dylan, and he got to meet both of them before he made a movie of them because he met Johnny Cash to get the
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah.
So you're saying now Bob Dylan's going to die?
That's
I don't know how to-
exactly what he was saying. Yeah.
I don't know how to break this to you. Everyone's gonna die.
I don't know how to tell you this.
The line was much better bookended with the table saw. Remember in the beginning of the movie
Oh, yeah.
and the end of the movie. And there's nothing like that with this movie, A Complete Unknown. That was something I was looking for that would kind of make the similar lines if you do like a musical biopic kind of a thing. But we didn't have that here.
The only other movie of his I've seen is Logan. So if we're talking about comparing, is that a good reference for a James Mangold Western?
It counts. You think he's better? Oh, damn it. Because I was gonna argue for westerns over music biopics.
I'll argue music.
Copland is kind of almost kind of a, like a Western showdown, kind of like a High Noon kind of a movie.
Logan.
Copland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very much of a Western setting of,
Can somebody rattle off a bunch of James Mangold movies so I can make
Sorry.
sure?
The Wolverine.
No.
Three-Headed
I'm
Yuma,
serious.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was what he made instead of this movie because of COVID and then the strikes. Yeah, and I mean Indiana Jones has Western themes to its adventure.
He wears a
stories.
big white hat.
He wears a hat.
There
Yeah.
we go.
There's a big white hat. It's pretty Western if you ask me.
Okay, I'm just gonna say part of why I've never been able to identify with Bob Dylan. Growing up as a teen, when I was younger than Bob Dylan, when I was as old as Bob Dylan, now that I'm older than Bob Dylan is in this movie, is the hat. I don't like that hat.
Which hat? He's got a couple hats.
Just all of his hats seem kind of twee to me. It's like why I was adverse to Wes Anderson at different times in my life. Is like I own many
Did he
Wes
have a
Anderson.
hat? Did Wes Anderson have a
No,
hat?
because of the tweeness of it. I'm being unique to be unique, and I do not enjoy that in when I observe it from afar, and especially if I'm observing it up close, and it's not coming from an authentic place. And obviously, a lot of people see Bob Dylan as being extremely authentic in his storytelling and music.
that's one of the things I kind of enjoy about Bob Dylan. And whether you like the movie or not, I think he gives a right point of view. Bob Dylan has this point of view of I don't owe you anything if you like my music. Even personally, he does that. Even with fans.
Yeah.
I still don't owe you anything if you like my music. You know, it's just kind of a hard take for people, and he comes out very much like a jerk as that kind of a perception. But right, I don't know if you kind of agree with that assessment, but he's never kind of strayed with that. He's always challenged himself to go away. Okay, this is what you think I am. Now I'm going to do something else.
Mm-hmm. I think all artists struggle with that. I made a Kanye joke earlier, but like Kanye went from, doing R&B to doing gospel music and now, anti-Semitism. And Chappell Roan, who, Pink Pony Club, she has that same opinion with her fans, is that she doesn't owe them something.
Yeah.
Like when she's performing, that's when she's giving them the stuff and she doesn't owe them something beyond that. And she's come under heat over the past year for saying something like that. And I do appreciate that Bob Dylan laid down a model for like, hey, I'm making content, and if you choose to engage with that content, cool, but that doesn't mean you get to play me like a jukebox. I do understand some of that ethos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dylan even pushed it further where he didn't believe that even like when he was performing it was for his fans, or he owed his fans anything as a performer either, and you can see that in a spoiler for it's a real thing that happened.
You can give the example.
With the Newport, the 65 Newport Folk Festival, where
the climax of the
where
movie.
he goes electric when
Yes.
the climax of this movie, which it's not a spoiler to say is the climax of this movie, I guess.
No, people know that's 1960 to 1965.
But surprise, it's a concert.
In doing that, he everything that he says both in the movie and that he said in real life, it's really interesting because the reason that he quote unquote went electric is just because he was just kind of tired. That wasn't the music that came to him anymore. That wasn't the music that he felt like making anymore, and that was always kind of his point, was the like, I don't even owe my fans anything. If you like my music, I still don't owe you anything even when I go up on stage. Like,
Are you guys folk fans? Like folk music fans?
Not really.
Same.
I'm not a true folk music fan.
Explain that for the audience, please.
I like old folk music, and then I like kind of folk adjacent like pop music nowadays. Like I like Hosier.
No,
Okay.
You won't see me at a Mudsons and Sons concert.
Yeah.
You won't see me there.
Mudson and Sons. That's it.
Mud flap.
Mumford. Okay, that was a joke. Yeah, I actually have been to a Mumford and Sons concert.
have? Okay, so you're more of a folk fan than I am.
My wife wanted to go.
How
That's
was it?
modern folk.
Okay.
It's like 2010s folk.
Yeah, that's what I like old folk. Bob Dylan's folk stuff is like, honestly, is probably my personal favorite of his stuff. And so it's kind of funny to me that I really like respect what the decision that he made to go electric and to change his style.
Sure.
But honestly, my Freewheelin' is my favorite Bob Dylan record, and that was like his first record of originals, I believe.
That's 1961, 62?
Yeah, 61. It's got Blowin' on the Wind in it.
Okay.
Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. All the like big Dylan folk classics are on that one.
Joe, where are you at with folk?
I don't have any feelings about it. My best friend loves folk music, so I'm open to it,
Okay.
but I don't personally listen to it in my
We
free
won't
time.
catch you all by yourself in your room. Listen.
No.
Listen to Mud Flap and Sons.
See,
Mud Flap and Sons.
I really thought that could be a band that I hadn't heard of. I associate it with when we as young Farxlings were separated, my brother and I. I was raised in the UP of Michigan, and they'd have like the Aura Jamboree, and that's what I saw, like a bunch of aging people out at like a campsite playing music that my grandparents and maybe my parents listened to on the radio. That is part of what's ingrained in me as like, I don't know, I don't like this. Going to the Aura Jamboree. Sorry, the Aura Jamboree. Don't mean to put you on blast. Brother, do you have any thoughts from your West Coast days? Or
No, I wasn't that much into folk music. Probably just pop from the West Coast because we were cool.
Right,
we'll
yeah.
East Coast, West Coast rap debate sometime with people who truly
Care.
Yes, care and can speak to that. James Mangold hates is location title cards, but I noticed he used a lot of date time title cards in this movie. Like he doesn't like when, okay, now we're in New York, and you say New York in like a title thing, and then show shots, classic, B-roll of New York or something like that. But I guess I thought that was a bit hypocritical because I like knowing, like, where did the Norfolk Folk Festival take place, or Newport Folk, sorry. Where is Newport? It's on the East Coast, right?
Rhode Island.
It's in Rhode Island. Okay.
They show that at the end of the movie.
The Newport.
They show
They
that it's
do.
in Rhode Island.
There's a road sign.
Oh, yeah.
when
but,
he's driving on, when he's driving.
Owned.
But it's not a title card.
But
that's
no.
the point.
Kyle
It's-
gets
he's not
epically
saying
owned on his
Rhode
own
Island.
podcast.
There's just a random sign that
Destroyed.
says Rhode Island.
Yeah, my wife is obsessed in movies with looking at license plates to
For
determine
what?
where is this
where
movie
they are,
taking place?
yeah.
Because where a movie takes place is important. Kind of like I enjoyed knowing, okay, we're in this year, so this is what I should expect for. Do you guys have hard fast feelings on title cards in movies when they're overused or when they're not? Like I think of the Marvel.
No, I get a chuckle out of if you say Chicago, Illinois, like Chicago, Missouri.
Chicago where?
You could just say Chicago, but they always I get a chuckle when they like Chicago, Illinois.
Sure.
I'm kind of with you, Kyle. I think it's kind of dumb.
Okay.
Actually,
But right, they do get overused sometimes. I remember movies constantly like, now we're over here, back to here. It's like, I get it.
Yeah, I think like the mid 2010s Avengers movies and like the Marvel movies would like slam you with so much. Like now we're in the Middle East and we're just wrecking shop. The Avengers.
Yeah.
That's unrelated to the title card thing.
Oh no, no! I think that is what they're talking about because James Mangold gave the example of The Wolverine, the movie he made before Logan, where he's sitting with the head of Fox at the time, and they come in and go at the very beginning of the movie, like, "There's mountains, Japanese mountains. Where's Wolverine? We need to know that Wolverine's coming." And that's what gave him this impression.
What if people walk out of the theater right now?
At the beginning, yeah, 'cause they don't know where Wolverine is. I can't think of any other biopic examples of, and yes, I'm going to keep saying it wrong, or the way that you guys describe it.
I have a question. Everybody looked at me.
You called attention to yourself, my friend.
Did everybody here see Elvis?
Yes, I own it. It's sitting over there.
I use title cards.
I
Well,
appreciate
how did you guys think
title
that
cards.
compared? Oh, you appreciate title cards?
I appreciate the year.
Okay,
I don't know if
especially
that's
for,
a
like-
different thing, but I appreciate the year because then I get lost if they just skip and then I'm like, where are we?
Oh, like how much time has been? That's
yeah.
funny.
I prefer Baz Luhrmann's zany take on things to James Mangold's very kind of staid and true. Like, because I'm not that interested in either Elvis or Bob Dylan, but I was made to be interested because he's what? Is the line that from that Elvis movie that my wife and I will occasionally just look at each other and yell. Because we're early on in the movie, we're like, hey, we can't have this guy. We can't bring a black person to wherever they were going to go.
Or yeah, it's because they're playing his music and then they
Yes.
go, he's white, and Tom Hanks goes, he's white.
Yeah, it's like that, but now I have made it hyperbolic.
It's only grown.
He's what? So did you like the Elvis movie better than this movie? That's a good contrast. I'm interested to see how everyone feels towards that.
I mean, Baz's movie is more hit you all with all the senses, right?
Yeah.
It's almost it's assault on the senses, where this one is kind of like let it aerate a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's different approaches to a biopic. I don't know. I think this one's probably a little more better of a story. I didn't have it in my top 20 actually for this year.
Oh.
And I didn't have Elvis in my top 20s. It's hard to do musical biopics, but maybe this is a little more fleshed out than the Elvis.
It felt a little more personal than the Elvis one. Like I don't know. The Elvis one was kind of like, it was really like visually over the top and astonishing, and it was so long, and you felt like you literally watched Elvis's whole life.
Yeah.
In watching that, because you kind of do. Whereas this is like, it's just a couple years. It's more kind of pretty much about like one difficult decision that Bob Dylan had to make and all of the factors that led up to that decision. And I think that I find that more interesting than a movie that's just about someone's whole horrible life.
When it comes to biographical docudramas, you definitely have hey, let's do the Wikipedia version of covering their entire life, or you have the Lincoln version where it's just the passing of the amendment, or the Steve Jobs, what's his name's movie, the one that was with Magneto, not the one with
Yeah, there were two Steve Jobs movies that took those two different approaches, kind of.
Yeah, because the Aaron Sorkin written one only focuses on like these 3 product launches and before.
Yeah.
And this, I did like that it was, okay, we're only going to cover this period of his life, but
It's less than 5 years.
yeah, they left it open for sequels is something that has been discussed. Like the articles have been written because a journalist felt like asking, see, how am I not a journalist?
This movie?
What movie?
This movie, like you could do another movie about the next phase in Dylan's career, and then you could go all the way to when he had like so it'd be like 1966 to like the late 80s, and then he doesn't have a resurgence till the 90s.
It's going to get awkward when they get to his born again Christian phase, though.
Do you think Timmy would actually convert just to like really get it down, like he learned the guitar for 6 years?
100%. Yeah.
What's your preference on biopics? Nick, I'll start with you. Like give me the whole thing, or very specific to a time?
Like, just give me any kind of movie?
Any kind of biographical docudrama.
Oh, Lawrence of Arabia.
Wait, what?
That's a biopic, right?
About Jesus Christ?
Lawrence of Arabia?
Well, it's about Lawrence, I assume.
Yeah.
I have to be honest with you. I've never sat down and watched the whole thing. I've watched parts of it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I realize I'm confusing it with Spartacus, where Jesus shows up, right?
Spartacus.
Mixing it up with the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah. A little bit different, but yeah. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, Lawrence of Arabia.
I hear that so much. What time period does Lawrence of Arabia cover?
Ottoman Empire, so it's 1800.
The Ottoman Empire. And the
Was Lawrence of Arabia a real person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a real person, yeah.
And a great movie that.
Kyle's been waiting for me to ask that question. Kyle's been waiting for somebody to ask
the local tribesmen how to fight the Ottomans.
Oh, so it's kind of like Seven Samurai.
A little bit, yeah, but
so it's kind of like Star Wars.
Yeah, fight the Empire, right? Yeah.
So it's a little like A New Hope,
in the sense that an outsider comes in and trains a group of people to stand
give the courage to fight back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is okay. So kind of like Seven Samurai.
Sweet. Thank you for that. Smoking. How do you guys feel about smoking? Was there enough smoking in this movie?
Cool as fuck. This movie made me want to smoke so bad.
Right. It did.
Right.
It did do a lot of care how people smoke as much as the second Joker movie.
I'm watching the Dexter prequel series that's on because I heard that there was.
It's horrible, isn't it? Why would you do that?
Have you seen the original? I'm guessing.
Yes, I saw the original when it came out. That's 18 years ago now.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, you didn't like the original Dexter?
No, just sorry that you were
alive,
just up and around and watching stuff.
Live.
Just
and wasn't a fetus. Okay.
That's crazy.
The argument I'm making is that I think smoking is more prevalent in that movie, and I honestly didn't think smoking was prevalent enough in this movie. Was going to be the bait I was going to take with you guys. Is that while the smoking was cool, there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah. There was a lot of smoking in Joker 2.
Yes.
And they should have used that as help, because Joker 2 took a lot of time framing everybody to look really good smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of smoking in there. They should go to this movie and say, you need to start smoking.
Joe, sorry?
I swear there was smoke in like every scene.
Oh, yeah, but you need more people in the background smoking. And
not just
everything
the
needs-
main character.
Yeah, and everything needs to be like filled with smoke in the background. That's
Like it's fuzzy.
yeah.
Okay.
And this is the 60s so this is the first half of the 60s. Dexter, the new series, takes place in 91, and people are smoking like crazy. And like,
I remember you could take a paper towel to my grandfather's TV and you could just wipe the yellow off of it.
Ugh. And you do that?
That was the 80s, man. Yeah, you just go up to his TV and like look at it.
You didn't have anything better to do.
And then his lampshades and everything. Indoor smoking, man.
Well, didn't you only get to watch TV in the early part of your life when you went to your grandparents because you grew up without a TV for a while?
I did grow up with a TV. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I grew up with SpongeBob. So
I grew up with SpongeBob. I feel so sorry for you. And Nick's like, man, I'm sorry you weren't a fetus in 2006.
I got to grow up with those kids in the Harry Potter movies.
God bless.
The one thing about this movie
Yeah.
that I had put in my review is I think the supporting characters are far more interesting than Bob Dylan's, because we like the way Pete Seeger's portrayed wonderfully. We actually are the Minnesota Film Critics nominated
Ed Norton.
for playing Johnny, the guy who played Johnny Cash, fantastic.
Oh,
Joan
man.
Baez is
Holbrook.
great. I think they took a lot of care in the supporting roles in the subplots more than the main point. which is kind of a surprise to me, especially for a movie about Bob Dylan, that you could do somebody who's so enigmatic. You can do many different variations, that they took a lot more care for the side characters.
Okay, I'll take you on that bait and say that that's good. It's good to take an enigmatic character like Bob Dylan and make him relatable, because I found him very relatable in a way that like disgusted me for all young men. It's like, oh, that's right. When you're in your early 20s, you act like that. Sorry, kids, you'll find out about this later on in life. And that,
Right, he probably took up smoking because Woody smoked.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's just I don't mean this like how it sounds, but I do mean this. He's just a dumb kid. So your brain still forms till you're 25, 26, and we see him prior to that. You just pointed at Mick, Joe.
No, I went like this.
She went like a rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
You can still kill brain cells and grow new ones for about a half decade more. So I guess what I'm saying is I like that they brought Monica Barbaro in to play Joan Baez, and I thought she was fantastic. I usually think Elle Fanning is one of the least interesting people in the movie that Elle Fanning is in. But
Yeah,
she's
they
also,
call her. They call her like Sylvie in the movie.
Yeah, she wasn't
that's
a
not
real
the-
person.
Yeah.
She was a mix of a couple real people.
it was because Bob didn't want to have somebody that was mostly based on someone real who is not alive anymore that he couldn't ask for consent for. And she wasn't a public person although I guess she is somewhat public because their relationship is public, and he asked for that name to be changed. I think Rolling Stone has it's actually this person in all but.
There were a couple elements pulled from a few different people.
Oh, can you educate me? Who else?
I'm gonna check that. That's what I thought.
Okay.
But-
While you're doing it, ages. Do we think people looked like the ages they were supposed to be? Usually when people.
Dylan's supposed to be what? He's like our age at the start of that.
Exactly.
No, I'm saying he doesn't look like that.
Right? Oh,
Because Timmy's got to be like 25 when he's making this movie.
I think he looks. I don't know. I thought he looked about the age that he was supposed to be the whole. I thought that they did a good job of having him subtly aged. Just kind of through the lighting and the makeup.
I like that his hair got better and more styled
Well,
as
that
it
just
went
happened
on.
in real life.
Well, I know, but I liked that.
Wait,
It was
so
cool.
Joe, you don't think he looks the right age at the beginning? Could you say more about that?
I don't think he looks our age. I think he looks
How old do you think he looks?
like maybe 23, 24.
I can see that.
I thought I didn't know what age he was supposed to be at the beginning, so that's what I thought he was. I didn't think he was supposed to be like 19, 20.
Oh, they have. I think we were just talking about this. They put some kind of like cheek prosthetics in to give him a little bit of a baby face at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because Dylan had a really chubby little face when he was starting out.
Was his lips also prosthetic? Because it looked kind of weird sometimes in the shadows or the lighting. Kind of
His
made it look
nose
flatter than
looked different,
it was.
for sure.
There was a nose prosthetic. There were cheek prosthetics at the beginning. Do you think he was well cast in this?
Who would you cast instead? Is that becomes the question.
Oh, that's a good question.
Instead
Instead of my stupid
Well,
question.
we put up Timothy as a best actor for this movie.
Sure.
Adrian Brody got it for The Brutalist.
Oh, sure.
So our association put him as a nomination for it.
Well, that's interesting, because maybe what you could do is say, if you were to go back to when someone was younger, like Edward Norton in his early 20s, Primal Fear days, when he was in that Richard Gere movie Primal Fear, he might have been able to do a Dylan just because of how deep he goes. No, your question was good. I'm going to bait you there, because it inspired the train of thought of, who could do it better than Timmy? I think Timmy's got a lot going for him. Timmy! Sorry, I keep thinking that. And also, did anyone watch the Golden Globes? There was a Timothée Chalamet joke with Nikki Glaser saying that Chalamet sounds like something Adam Sandler would say. Chalamet! And then she pointed at him and had him, Chalamet! I'm going to pivot to... and I do think you're going to have an opinion on this, the musicians here. Electric versus acoustic versus virtual instruments. What are the pros? What are the cons? Which one is best and why?
Well, you always try your songs out on acoustic first, right?
Typically, yeah.
Wait, why?
I usually write on an acoustic in case you have to, I don't know, go to the bathroom or something. Why?
What?
I don't know.
Take it with you. And
It's-
I
it's plugged
actually
in?
don't know either.
Well,
It's,
acoustic, it's almost like it's like a sketch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost
So
think
it's
that.
like for a drawing, you just like a rough sketch. You always go with the acoustic because it's easy to tune and everything, and plus you want to get your fingering right before you go transfer to electric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Plus-
this is coming from somebody who's never played a guitar. So,
This is a drummer talking right
this
now.
is the drummer, right? Yeah.
I'll take over.
So,
I prefer to write
I'll try
unplugged
not
for
pots
sure.
and pans first before I get on my drum set. How's that?
I think that, I mean, Joe, maybe you can agree with it. I think that the reason that I go to write songs on an acoustic guitar is because I kind of like the quality of a solo voice and a solo acoustic. I feel like with a solo electric guitar by itself doesn't really sound amazing or like anything.
I've written many songs with this solo electric guitar.
Well, you're a better musician than me, so
That's not true.
you got me there.
Can you tell us about that process, Joe? What got you? Why did you do that when you did it?
Because I was always an electric guitar player. I think it's different for everyone depending on what they're most comfortable with. I always, from when I was 8 years old, played electric guitar, and I never really had an acoustic. I always had an electric. So I just would play around with whatever amp I had and do like a clean sound and try to do a singer-songwriting thing with my electric, and it was comfortable for me. And at school, I always had my electric, so I always just wrote with my electric. Mm-hmm. But it makes sense, too, to write with an acoustic because it's just like, it gives you more than an electric gives you. You know what I mean? Or just in general, anything. Like acoustic, it gives you more, I feel like.
It is, yeah, there's kind of just a fuller sound to an acoustic instrument, like always.
Yeah.
Because there's, I mean, not to be too much of a nerd about it, but it's because there's, real space inside of the instrument that is resonating and creating the sound, rather than some sort of artificial resonance, like a pickup on a guitar, which
Or
are
like an electric cello.
or like an electric
Those
cello.
sound way different than, I prefer like a normal cello, but I've heard electric cellos be used like a guitar, like they do solos on it. It's very cool, but it's totally different way to use it. Totally different sound. And virtual instruments, I know nothing about. That's not me, that's him.
I can touch on that. Virtual instruments kind of suck. Like there's not like virtual instruments are like it's a composer and producer specific tool, but in almost any instance that's a placeholder for
a real instrument.
A real instrument.
Musician.
I'll bait you there in that what if somebody's in the situation that Joe was in, where they don't have access to the number of instruments that they have, so it kind of democratizes music to have virtual instruments that people can play around with. And hey, I don't have access to a cello, but I can get a virtual cello, or I can get virtual brass, or virtual other strings, So that's my, populist, like, how dare you elitist.
No, I mean I prove your point myself, and
You
then I write.
have horn sections.
Yeah, I write for horns and strings, which I only play a very small amount of in my real life. And so, no, virtual instruments are great because they, allow a kind of gateway for people who don't have access to that kind of music experience. Though I personally think that music should pretty much only be for rich, straight, white people.
Crazy.
Is my general philosophy around it.
Crazy.
We're going to put this on the MAGA
that.
network. So
Yeah, let me put this on 4chan.
Cut just what he just said.
Yeah.
And just only have
Use
that.
that.
No
Use
context.
that as the preview clip.
No context at all.
Well, I guess as it relates to the movie, though, there's a lot of CGI they probably had to do to the background so that modern New York could be shot like it was 60s New York.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm assuming a lot of the budget went, is to digitally painting things out. And to that, basically to the end of, well, why can't they just find a place that, well, because they can't. It doesn't exist anymore. When they made A Serious Man here, they had to digitally paint things out of the background, and that was 15 plus years ago. So
Yeah, but I would argue instruments still exist, though. Instruments, you have that in your hand. You should be using real instruments, right? Not digital versions. You're never going to beat the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, hats off for Timothy to learn how to play the guitar in this movie. They didn't shot.
I didn't
the hand
expect
play.
that.
No,
I mean,
that's
he
unbelievable.
really is playing.
No,
it.
when
And
I
they really, sorry,
sorry.
you go ahead, Joe.
when I first watched it, I was impressed to see that he was actually playing it. Same with the lady who played
Monica Barbaro.
Joan. Was
Yes.
that her?
Did she play Joan Baez?
That
Yeah.
was really impressive too, to see them actually doing that, and the finger picking and the banjo too, all of it.
Oh, wait, what? Ed
I
Norton
think
was doing?
Ed Norton
Yeah.
was really playing that banjo.
It looked
'cause
real to me.
He had like the banjo, like I don't know what those are called off the top of my head. The little metal finger picks that people
Yeah,
use
he
with
had-
banjos, the little thumb thing. He had one of those on, so it's kind of seemed like he was really playing.
I didn't expect that because a lot of movies I see, they're not actually playing. It's just audio.
Close shop up with somebody.
Yeah, or it's like shows them strumming, but not the neck of the guitar or anything.
My favorite of last year was Wicked when the wizard tap dancing. It
Oh,
definitely wasn't him.
No, that was crazy. They just zoomed in on his feet and then did that
It
little
definitely
thing
wasn't him tapping.
and panned out.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson on Zoolander in the commentary talks about how he wants to get as many stunt people involved in the performance as possible because they're like riding in on the scooter or whatever and then doing a kick with it, and that he's like all of these different things like the yo-yo. That's a bunch of other stunt people doing these things, and I don't know how to do any of them. When I was in Shanghai, the movies, I didn't ride the horse, you know.
No, right.
And so I'm going to argue, I guess, against you guys in the sense that, oh, you can do more if you fake it. But Jim Mangold on the Director's Cut podcast said that when he met Johnny Cash is like, don't have him holding the guitar like a baby. Here's how I hold my guitar, and he like drags it across the floor because they don't know that like, oh, I'm going to be iconic, so I need to hold this guitar or this instrument like somebody who's you know, super important. I have a bunch of other things that are going to be better.
I'm doing side note. I always painted and always do watercolors. I love when art, when actors are showing painting, they're doing little like dabby dab.
Yeah.
They're
Joe paints too.
Oh gosh, I
get
do.
the brush out. Start making massive strokes with it.
Yeah.
But anytime an actor is doing like a sketch, it always like little things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it pans out and it's this whole
immaculate.
like
I've seen you painting while last year we did, and I think we're gonna do it again. Do a Valentine's Day thing where I tried to write a piece of music and she tried to do a painting, and we were kind of bouncing like themes off of each other.
Yeah, we did
as
at
we were
the
doing
same
that.
time and like watched.
And
I guess.
Yeah.
You could have been. That's what Elle Fanning and Timmy should have done when that, or that's what Bob Dylan should have done
Instead
with
of
that Real
hating
Woman.
each other, yeah.
Yeah, yes, instead of hating each other. We're going to jump into the spoiler section, but I want to end on, if Bobby D were a comic book character, who would he be?
Because
It's not Batman.
we're comic nerds.
'Cause you're comic nerds.
Avengers accountant.
That's fun.
Because he's Jewish.
There's no indication that he's good at math.
No, that's my joke when I'm away from school with my students because they're like, I'm gonna be gone tomorrow. What? I'm doing the Avengers taxes. So sorry,
Somebody needs to.
And I hope you say that in like November before it's like, I'm just getting the taps prep ready before the end of the year.
So it's always deep on my file, like Avengers doing their taxes.
This isn't a comic book character, but a character that always reminds me of Bob Dylan a little bit. Joe is going to roll her eyes at this. Is Peter Capaldi's version of the Doctor in Doctor Who.
Okay.
Always really reminds me of Bob Dylan because first of all, stylistically,
I didn't think about it, but
he's
right.
got the big curly hair and he always wears like a velvet type suit like that. But then
he always
his
got the upper hand, no matter what the situation.
Yeah, his
is.
personality, like he's always. I feel like that is a character that I would guess drew some inspiration directly from Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
That's why you ask these ridiculous questions to get
To these fucking nerds.
And it's a Doctor Who that knows how to play guitar.
Yeah, he does many times, and it's a similar guitar too.
Right.
I don't know comic books, but if he was in SpongeBob, he would be Squilly and Fancy Son.
What?
And I
Really?
stand by that.
What is? Can you
Interesting.
explain that to me? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm too old for SpongeBob. As another friend in their 30s recently pointed out to another guy who creates TV shows and movies. He was like, "You're too old for SpongeBob, aren't you? Like you grew up just after it, so I don't know this character."
Damn. Well, he's like so Squidward plays clarinet, as we all know.
Yes, if you know that.
He's bad at it, and then
Well, that's
Squilliam.
what he's constantly berated. Like, okay.
If you were encouraged to
Sorry.
play better.
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah.
Squilliam Fancy Son is basically like this really famous clarinet player. He looks like Squidward, but he has either a mustache or he has fancy hair and he has fancy clothes and like a bunch of fans, like basically the life that Squidward wants.
Oh my gosh.
And they like
And
went.
he's
Didn't
kind
they
of
go
an
to
asshole.
school together or something? Don't
Yeah,
like,
they
have a
know each
history?
other. They're either cousins or like they know each other.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm looking at a
This is
picture.
fascinating.
Picture of this guy.
Okay.
yeah.
That's
Show it.
incredible.
Okay.
Show it.
Wait,
that's him.
oh yeah,
That's
Bob Dylan.
Squilliam. So that's Bob Dylan.
Okay, I had one more in my pocket that I'm gonna end on. If Bob Dylan's guitar could shoot, would he be able to beat Antonio Banderas in? Have you not seen El Mariachi?
Yeah.
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 So.
El Mariachi, yes. Zorro, no.
Oh wait, so you think Bob Dylan could beat El Mariachi in a guitar fight where the guitars are guns?
No.
Let's be
Yes.
clear.
I don't think he could stop Zorro with his guitar gun.
But
is
if
the
he was
other
playing his guitar gun, he would beat Antonio Banderas' El Mariachi.
Oh yeah.
I'm
What?
trying to talk about Zorro here.
I understand that.
I picked up on that.
I understand you're trying to talk about Zorro. I was saying with
I had a best friend that was obsessed with that movie.
were
The
they a
Antonio
good,
Banderas
No, El
Zorro?
Mariachi.
Oh,
yeah.
Just
I-
obsessed.
That when I would have been just getting into Bob Dylan as a teen, that I was really into those El Mariachi movies. So that was like more my flavor than the folksy, the going into electric Bob Dylan.
well, what was your favorite Dylan album?
I don't have a favorite album. I would probably tend towards like All Along the Watchtower because of Battlestar Galactica, to be honest with you.
Oh,
And that's after this era, which I did the research. I know. Okay.
well later this era.
let's it's 67, 68.
Around then.
Thank you. Any closing thoughts on the non-spoiler section? Give us something that I can't wait to talk more about all the things that pissed me off that he did in this movie in the next section.